Good evening, silver tubers. It is Mr. Zeke coming to you from the silver pouring bench on a quiet Wednesday night. Been kind of a rough day, and I need some porotherapy. So I'm going to do a little bit of pouring tonight. I'm going to bring you guys along for the journey. I have no goals in mind when pouring tonight. I'm just going to pour whatever I feel like pouring, and I appreciate anybody who follows along. So right now the silver's heating up in the furnace, and we're going to be right back once whatever mold I decide to pour is nice and warm and the silver's good and liquid, and we can get on with this pouring session. Hang tight. Alright, we're going to start out simple. We're going to pour just a nice simple bar. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant, just a nice rectangular bar. Won't even worry about weight. We're just going to pour it for the sheer pleasure of pouring, to watch the silver flow, and then watch it cool. Oh yeah, very nice. We'll set that one off to the side. Now we're going to pour an ultimate skull bar, so I'll heat that mold up. And I'll shut the camera off because that torch gets kind of loud. So we'll be back in a few minutes. So now, let us pour the ultimate skull bar. I got a new mold for this one sometime back. I just hadn't poured it. I poured one earlier this week and thought I would pour one on camera. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Feels so good. And look at that. Look at that thing just glow. Set that over here. I think I'll pour an original Tree of Life round next. It's been a while since I hit this one up. Knocked the loose graphite and whatnot out of it. There's always a little bit of loose graphite in these older ones. Heat her up, and I will be back when she's ready to pour. And now it's time for a old school, the original Tree of Life pour. Oh yeah. Ooh, getting interesting how it cooled all off to one side. So charge up the crucible one more time. I may have a couple more pours in me, we'll see. Drop some of the shiny in the crucible. I had one more mold I wanted to pour. I gotta find it. Come on. While I'm charging this, I want to give a shout out to Big Lori. Alright. Move that off to the side to cool. I'm going to hunt down this other mold, and I'll be back. Okay, and we're back. This has always been one of my favorite pours, although I haven't done that many of them. I like it because it kind of reminds me of the British sovereign with the knight slaying the dragon. So let's see how this one comes out. We'll look at them all as soon as we're done pouring. I think I'm gonna, after this, I'll have one more pour to do based on the amount of silver I pulled out of the bowl to turn into liquid. So let's try and get a smooth pour on this one. Yeah. I think I've got enough to pour one more bar. Nicely done. Alright, we'll set that off to cool. And I want to pour a simple bar. Just something, nothing fancy. We'll use this mold right here. Yeah. It's kind of flat. It's a flatter bar. So we'll heat it up. We'll use the furnace to heat it up instead of the torch. And in the meantime, let's have a look at some of these, because some of them have that finish that so many people comment on. Mold's still a little warm. That speckled finish on the back, and that usually goes away when it gets tumbled. But I'm thinking on these I might just leave that, stamp it the way it is, not tumble them, and offer them raw. Just a little different. And then if, you know, the owner wants to polish that off, all they gotta do is hit it with a little bit of flitz and it would probably polish right off. But they can also leave it natural to get that multicolored speckled finish on it. The very first one did it, and so did the Ultimate Skull Bar. I don't know that the other two did. I haven't really looked at them closely, that closely, but we're letting them cool naturally instead of dipping them right now, just because this has been a continuous pouring session rather, not section. Why would it be a pouring section? That doesn't even make sense. It's a pouring session. It's a therapy session. Work out some of the frustrations from the day. Take it out on the metal. Clear our minds. Focus on common interest. Let's see if we've got enough silver in here to fill this mold. We may have more than enough. No, just enough. That one came out with a little bit of a ridge right down the middle. So let's shut the furnace down, and we'll be back in just a minute after these all cool off. Sorry, gotta get the furnace turned down. Alright, be back in a few minutes, everybody. Alright, so the pouring's done. Let's see how they came out. We'll start with the first one I poured. Actually, we'll start with one I poured earlier this week. It's the Concave Tree of Life. Nice chunky hexagon. This one actually weighed out at 2.5 ounces. That's pretty substantial considering thickness wise or size wise. It's about the size of a $1/2, but it's 2.5 ounces of pure silver. So that was one I did earlier this week when I was just having a little pour party all on my own. And then tonight's pours, this was the first pour number 1, with that speckled multicolor finish. And like I said, I'm debating. If you're interested in any of these pours, just shoot me an email or PM me. Let me know if you want that speckled finish cleaned off, or if you want me to just go ahead and stamp right over it and leave that speckled finish. I've never offered that before, but why not? something a little bit different, something a little bespoke. So there's bar number 1. And the ultimate skull bar. This is a new mold. The original didn't have this framing around the edge, and the new one has this framing around the edge. And there, I don't even know if there's the same number of skulls in it, but this one got a nice even edge all the way around. This one also has that bespeckled finish that so many people have made comments about, but that's on the back there too. So like I said, with or without bespeckling, it's completely up to you. And then the original Tree of Life. I haven't poured one of these in a bit, and so with the rim, there's a larger one. This is the original Tree of Life, and it's got some of that bespeckling on the back too. It's not quite as radical, but it's there. Maybe just untumbled. I know that a lot of people like their silver super duper, I can shave looking into it, but you know, I look at all these vintage pieces and none of them look like that. And this is one of my favorite molds to pour into, but like I said, I haven't done very many of these. It kind of reminds me of the British Sovereign, and it's got a pretty nice even rim. It's a little shallow on one side, minor bespeckling on the back of that. And I did wash these, and that did not come off, so I think you'd have to polish it off if you want it off, or tumble it off. So, and lastly was the leftovers bar. It just came out all kinds of crazy. It is radical. It's real thin at one end, thicker at the other end, almost wafer thin, and it's got radical bespeckling in it. I'm afraid though, if I do any kind of polishing on this, it's gonna take this off. So anyway, I mean, it's definitely shiny. You can see the reflection of my fingers. So yeah, therapy session completed. I appreciate it. If anybody's interested in any of these, I'll put my email address down in the comment section. In the meantime, it's Mr. Zeke from the Silver Pouring Bench, finishing up what turned out to be a most relaxing therapy pour session. Cheers, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of the week.